Hello everybody and welcome to a Snapshot opinion video. Today we're going to be talking about Snapshot 24W40A. At Minecraft Live, they made an announcement that instead of a major update during the summertime, we're going to get drops throughout the year. They've sort of been working on this over this last few months with things like the wolf variants and pottery being able to hold items and little quality of life improvements. And going forward, we're going to see more of that. So the next update is going to be called the Bundles of Bravery. We're finally going to get the bundles in the game, which is going to be fantastic. And we're going to get hardcore mode on Bedrock, which a lot of folks are really excited about. Now, the following drop, which will happen in a few months, is going to include a new mob, a new biome, and a bunch of new blocks. When you load the snapshot, it will include the bundles and things like that, but to get the next drop that's going to be coming, you have to go into the experiment tab. Once you go into the experiment tab, there is an experiment called Winter Drop, and if you turn that on, you will get the biome and the mob and all of the new blocks. So the first thing I'm going to do is just lay out the facts, tell you all about the things that we're going to get, and then I'll give you my opinions and some thoughts and some discoveries I've had about these things. There's a bunch of pros, a few cons, and we'll go through all that together. Now, when I first discovered a biome, and I did have to go a few thousand blocks to find it, I was really surprised. I had seen the videos, I had watched the announcement, but when you see it in person, for yourself, it just really looks wrong. When you're in the biome, it is really just uncomfortably eerie. The sky is the wrong color. It just looks like somebody messed with the controls on your monitor. Faraway things are the right color, and once you get outside of the biome, the sky turns blue again and all of that, but it's just really wrong looking. It's also very dense. More dense for sure than a dark forest. Lots of grass, lots of hanging moss, and these big 4x4 trees. So like a dark forest, they are big chunky trees. The classic blocks just look really bright against this drab and desaturated environment. It's very peculiar. During the day, it's pretty peaceful. Really kind of nice and lush, but during the night it gets really treacherous. It's very hard to see because of all of this hanging moss and all of that. Any kind of mob can spawn here, so not just our new mob, but also creepers and skeletons and zombies and all of that. One thing that is interesting is it will say eerie noise down in the corner with the subtitles. The noises are actually coming from the blocks. It's not the biome that's making the noises. So hanging moss makes a noise when it is nighttime. The creaking heart will make a noise. The trees, it's very weird. And I don't think I've ever seen that before where the blocks themselves actually create some of that environment. Now the new mob we got is called the Creaking. Probably heard a lot about it. Oop, there's one. And it is basically like the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. As long as you're looking at it, it can't do much of anything. It's when you turn your back that it's going to come after you. These don't take any damage, so when you hit them, they don't do anything at all except emit these particles. And the particles will show you where their heart is. The heart, we dig in here, a really bright block, there it is, and not every tree has it. If you farm the trees, as I understand it, if you bone meal the saplings, it will never have a creaking heart. It has to be a naturally grown tree. When the sun comes back up, these guys will just kind of fade away, just drop to the ground, and similarly, if you break the heart, this guy will go away. As you can see from even this far away, they are hard to spot. Very creepy, very unusual, and really effectively camouflaged. Yeah, if I punch this heart, there he goes, just kind of drops to the ground. So here we've got a zombie, Saw a creeper back there. Skeleton. I guess the only good thing is creepers actually stick out a little bit more compared to like a dark forest or your, birch forest, things like that. The creaking doesn't do a ton of damage. If you've got okay armor, they can hit you a bunch of times and you'll still be okay. But if you get a few of them on you, it can kind of pile up pretty quick. And when you're trying to find their hearts and try to cut into the tree without turning your back on everybody, that can be pretty tricky. I like how their eyes come to life when they see you. Very creepy and spooky. Right now I am in creative mode, but if I go into survival, I think this will go very badly for me very quickly. Oops, see, oh, okay. Oh boy, there's a creeper behind me. Oh gosh. Nope. Creepers won't do anything to these guys. Oh geez. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, that didn't go well. When I first saw the biome, I wasn't so sure, but I think it's going to be one of the most treacherous places in the overworld. It's just really freaky and hard to see, and all the mobs are there, and the creaking, while it is not the most difficult mob to overcome, really makes things a lot more challenging and difficult. So if you pick up a creaking heart with Silk Touch, you can have it as an item. If you don't use Silk Touch, it will just break. And if you put it between 2 bits of pale oak, when it becomes nighttime, it will spawn a creaking. There it is. One creaking is tethered to one creaking heart. And you can tell that when you hit them, it will send particles between them. Again, these guys don't take any damage. You can hit them as many times as you want. You can try and blow them up. You can try and drown them. Nothing works. So from what I can tell, it seems like they can follow you about 30 blocks. Once you get to 30 blocks, they can't really get much further away from their heart. When they hit you, it is the silliest animation. Just a big old wallop with that arm. But yeah, it's interesting that they have kind of a boundary. And they walk weird. In addition to the biome and the mob, we also get a whole new wood set. This set is called Pale Oak, which I don't love that name. I feel like it's a little bit of a cop-out. We could have called it anything else, pale anything, but oak is what they went with. Kind of a nice texture on it. It has all of the variants, of course, with your stripped variants, and then your planks, your stairs, your slabs, your fences. Pretty cool looking door. I like the hardware on that. Pretty good looking trapdoor. You got your hanging signs, your normal signs, your buttons, your pressure plates, your boats, and your boats with chest. A really very cool kind of bonsai looking sapling. You've got this hanging moss, which you can bone meal. You've got new moss carpets, the pale moss carpets and the pale moss block. We of course have these leaves, and then the creaking heart, which you can pick up with Silk Touch. So those are all of the new blocks so far that we're getting, and I really like them. They add a lot of variation to, the blocks that we already know. This moss will crawl up the wall a little bit. It has a nice texture that sort of creeps and looks really, really alien and unnatural. And these blocks, again, the color palette is so icky and out of place. It's very, very peculiar. Pale moss versus standard moss seems to be the same texture, just one is very gray and the other one is very green. Now the wood, when you look at it just on its own, It's very pink. Very, very pink. There is some gray, there are some whites in here, but there's a lot of purple and a lot of bright pink. It does go okay with like purple blocks or purple terracotta or nether bricks, things like that, but it's not really a truly white wood. It is very, very pink. It's strange when you see the tree in that sort of desaturated color, and then you see the blocks and they also feel really desaturated and very white. But again, when you get up close to them, really pink, really purple. I guess the one thing I do really appreciate is just the ugliness of this color palette. They are very unnatural colors. And I think that's a cool thing, because in the overworld, most everything is pretty natural. You know, it's all wood and stone and real world things. Here we're getting into some science fiction type stuff, some really peculiar colors and really bizarre things that are growing in the overworld. Okay, let's talk about the pros and the cons. What are the good things? What are the not so good things? So good thing number one, white wood. It is something that we have wanted forever, and finally we got it. And that door is so good looking. Next to the spruce door, it's probably my new favorite. But yeah, we can finally make our white picket fences. We can finally use white wood. The other thing is the creaking. Really cool mob. Really cool kind of mechanic. It's very neat to have something that you can't kill. It is kind of a force of nature, kind of like the Warden is. And I think it's going to make that biome really, really challenging, really, really treacherous. And that biome, it is a cool thing. It's just a dark forest that's bushier and has a weird mob, but it also turns the sky weird. If you were to build in that biome, your build would look so much more colorful. And so it's the only place in the overworld where the sky turns a different color. And I think that's a neat thing to have, like a weird oddity, a weird broken part of your world. And finally, the new drop system. I just think it's going to be great to get an update every 3 or 4 months. I just think it's going to keep the game very fresh, very exciting, lots of new stuff to look forward to more often, so I'm very excited about that. And I do have some speculation. You know, I'm wondering if they're just doing these little updates because in the background they're working on something bigger. You know, maybe an end update, maybe a new dimension, maybe Minecraft 2.0, who knows? But if your main focus right now is just small quality of life things that add to the game, gives you a lot of time and resource to work on bigger, long-term things in the background. So what about the cons? What are the things we missed on? Well, first of all, Pale Oak. I just think that's a little bit of a cop-out of a name. I think we could have come up with something just more inventive, more interesting, especially since this tree and this biome feels so otherworldly. The other thing is the name of the Pale Garden. It's not really a garden. You know, when you think of a garden, you think of something that's cultivated or something that's managed, something that's controlled. And this doesn't feel like a garden at all. It is pale, that's a cool part, but pale forest, just anything else, but it's definitely not a garden. Now, if they add in garden elements, you know, then maybe we're onto something, and maybe there is more stuff coming to this biome, but right now it feels like a forest and not a garden. And the last con that I've got is the creaking heart. While I think it's a cool mechanic, I'm not a fan of all of the single-use blocks, and there are a ton of them. There's already so many single-use items in the game, and it would be so much more interesting and challenging and personal if you had to decide what you wanted to do with it. You know, with a Heart of the Sea, I know I can make a conduit, but what if it did like 3 different things? Then when I found one, I would have to decide, do I want to use it for a conduit or do I want to use it for something else? I'd have to make some decisions, and I just think that would add a really cool element to the game. And those are my opinions on the Snapshot. I'm very excited to see how this develops, see what it turns into, and I'm also very curious what you think about it. Leave me some comments, let me know, and I will see you in the next one.